We like to describe our report as a carefully edited collection of U.S. news headlines, papers across the country, summarized for you in one place. We do it here every day. Here's our top story. It is a startling statistic on the front page of USA Today. 1 in 9 homes in the country empty. The story says this is an unprecedented glut. These empty homes will rock the real estate landscape for years. So what do you do with those empty homes? In the New York Times, a story of a woman who moved to a house in Miami, introduced herself to the neighbors, she signed up for water and power. What she didn't tell anyone was that she didn't own the house. She just moved in because it was empty. This is increasingly common. President Obama hosted the first White House Seder for the Jewish holiday of Passover. The Los Angeles Times says it was a small guest list. The New York Post confirms that with a picture. Looks like about 20 guests seated for a traditional Passover dinner. Kim Jong-il was in Parliament in North Korea yesterday, his first major public appearance since last year when he got sick. On the front page of the Wall Street Journal, we see how he has aged since he got sick last year. On the left, a photo from 2007. After reports that cargo ship Captain Richard Phillips made an unsuccessful escape attempt this morning, his family continues to wait for news. That's covered in his home state paper from Vermont, the Burlington Free Press. In the Wisconsin State Journal, a story about a simple observation that saved a life. Mail carrier Courtney Spoud thought it was odd that the screen door was locked at the home of an elderly woman. He had always noticed it open because she made a habit of opening it for him before he got there. It was locked the next day. By the end of the week, he asked police to check on her. They arrived just in time to save her life. She had fallen and had been on the floor for 4 days. One number goes down while the other goes up on the Mexican border. Illegal immigrant arrests down 29%, but at the same time, marijuana seizures are up dramatically. That story is in the paper in Phoenix this morning. This is because border guards are spending less time with illegal immigrants, so they have more time to patrol smuggling routes. After reports of drug violence, the Wall Street Journal asked the question in the Weekend Journal section this morning, is it safe to go to Mexico on vacation? Also in the Journal, 2 stories about music. How do you get to Carnegie Hall? YouTube. The Journal reports on the process to assemble musicians for an April 15th concert. They are being auditioned over the internet. And the Journal has a profile of 23-year-old white rapper Asher Roth, who's making waves with his suburban-inspired rhymes. You probably don't know who the man is on the front page of the New York Times. What you should know is that this photograph cost him his job. Bob Quick, the top counterterrorism officer in Britain. He was arriving for a briefing at the Prime Minister's residence at 10 Downing Street in London. He had his papers in hand. Unfortunately, he didn't have them in an envelope. Telephoto lenses revealed that a raid was planned on a suspected terror cell. Animal hoarding is increasing in the U.S. The Florida Times Union says hundreds of thousands of animals are harmed by people every year, people who may present themselves as animal lovers or rescuers but end up putting the animals in jeopardy. Big day for the stock market yesterday. The L.A. Times says investors reacted as though stronger bank profits were a turning point in the economy. The San Francisco Chronicle says that has experts trying to decide now whether this recession is going to be U-shaped or V-shaped. And the New York Times says skeptics are thinking investors may be glossing over some of the deep problems businesses face in the months ahead. Also in the Times, columnist Paul Krugman, who says the lure of high finance led to this monster that ate the world economy. He says we need to make banking boring again. The money problem some of us may have this weekend is the tax problem due on Wednesday. Writer Sandra Block in USA Today has some tips to help you avoid mistakes if you're rushing to make the deadline. Baseball tragedy in California. This happened quite early yesterday, but this is the first chance for the papers to report on the traffic accident. Drunk driving suspected that killed Angels pitcher Nick Adenharts, reported here in the Orange County Register. Also in the Los Angeles Times, which says in the headline that he was just starting his career and showed great promise. Page 8 of the New York Daily News, the jelly beans. Jessica Silverman was at a trade show. An exhibitor had a contest to guess how many jelly beans were in a big container. She figured, 8,000. She wrote down 79.54. She was exactly right, $25,000 prize. The Hannah Montana movie in theaters today. Front page of the Des Moines Register says young girls will love it. The Seattle Times says Miley Cyrus is very likable, but offers a warning that the bubblegum pop soundtrack will be stuck in your head. New York Post critic Kyle Smith was tough this morning. He gives it just 1 star and says there was barely enough plot for half a movie. Miami of Ohio, not Florida, will play for the NCAA hockey title in the Frozen Four. The events in D.C., the Washington Post reports the Red Hawks from Oxford beat fellow upstart Bemidji State of Minnesota to advance to the championship of the event. And a Harvard professor has invented a new way to enjoy chocolate. It is an inhaler, looks like those asthma inhalers. Le Whiff gives you the experience of chocolate without the calories. The Boston Globe says it'll cost you about $2 for 4 puffs. We invite you to come back every day to get all the top news from U.S. newspapers at patspapers.com. On our website, you'll find links to all the stories that I've featured today.